Mary Ann Bevan story. Mary Ann Webster, also known as Mary Ann Bevan. She was a British woman that lived in a suburban town called Plaistow in East London. Mary was born in 1874, a few days before Christmas, and she was one of 8 children, and she had a normal life, a normal childhood. She played with her siblings. She probably played hide and seek, hopscotch, sang with her brothers and sisters, and dreamed of getting married and having a family and becoming a nurse, which Mary eventually became a nurse in 1902 when she was 28 years old. And at this time, she was a very attractive woman. So it didn't take long for a man named Thomas Bevan, who was a gardener, to marry her in 1903. And they fell in love and they had 4 children. And right after she got married, she started showing symptoms of a rare disease called acromegaly, which is a growth disorder resulting from excess growth hormone that continues to produce in your body after your growth stops. This is what causes gigantism in people. And this is the same disease that Andre the Giant had as well. So the symptoms of this disease are enlargements of the hands and feet, also the forehead, the jaw, and the nose. This disease can cause joint pain, thick skin, a deep voice, headaches, and vision problems. Now, this disease in today's time can be treated if caught early enough, but in the 1800s, they couldn't treat it or stop it from happening. So she continued on with her life, with her husband and kids, and her working at the hospital, and her husband farming and taking care of the family. Everything was good until 1914, when her husband walked into their cottage and suddenly died at her feet, leaving her with 4 children to take care of. And at that time, nursing wasn't a high-paying job where she could take care of the home. And at this time, acromegaly started to show in her quickly. As her hands started to grow, her feet grew bigger as well, her skin became coarse, and her forehead got bigger. Her nose began to grow, and her jaw became elongated. Her appearance left her not being able to work as a nurse. Through the criticism, the ridicule, and the teasing, she ended up not working, but she continued on. So she took on side jobs and odd jobs and anything she can do to sustain her family. Mary had a determination to support her family at any cost. And she continued working these odd-end jobs, trying to feed her family. And one day in the newspaper, she saw an ad that would change her life and the life of her family. This ad said, "Wanted, ugliest woman, nothing repulsive, maimed or disfigured, good pay guaranteed, and long engagement for successful applicant. Send recent photograph." So Mary, probably thinking it wasn't real. I mean, it does sound crazy, but because of the desperation she was going through to take care of her kids, she decided to send in her photo. Now, what she didn't know is that this ad was placed by a guy named Claude Bartram, who was agent for the Barnum and Bailey Circus. Claude had scoured the world looking to recruit his newest freaks for his cruel but very lucrative sideshow freak show. And once he received a photo of Mary Bevan, he said that he had found his newest star. They say she beat out 250 other applicants. Now, the crazy part is, an insider said that the reason why she won was because they were looking for the ugliest woman possible, but they wanted her to look pleasant. And many contestants were disqualified because they were too ugly for the title. There was an interview with Claude Bartram in which he stated his interaction with Mary by saying, "She was not repulsive at all. She had the kind of face one usually finds in a giant, a powerful, masculine jaw, prominent cheekbones, nose and forehead. But she was unblemished, healthy and strong. She told me she did not like the idea of placing herself on exhibition. She was shy and did not want to separate from her children. I told her she would earn £10 per week for a year, traveling expenses, and all the money from the sales of picture postcards of herself so she can provide for the education of her children. She wavered, but finally she agreed. And then she was immediately booked for Coney Island's Dreamland to participate in the show along with other sideshow acts. Like there were a bunch of them in that time period, like Ursa the Bear Girl, Rob Roy the Albino Wonder, Elizabeth the Living Doll, Lionel the Dog-Faced Boy, Baron Pucci, the smallest and most perfect man, Eli Bowen, the Legless Man, Bonita, Irish Fat Midget, Zip, What Is It? Aboma, the tallest lady in the world, Princess Wee Wee, Ajax, Arabian Sword Swallower, Kliko, the wild dancing South African bushman. So these were regular people. But what they would do is they would come up with these extravagant stories about these performers, and people would come to see these sideshows and stare at them, call them names, and treat them like they were animals at the zoo, all because of that story that they sold people on. And people would come and treat these people inhumane because of a disability. So they dressed Mary Ann Bevan in clothes that brought out her worst features, and people would gawk and shout insults at her and be cruel because this was entertainment for people in that time period. But Mary smiled through it all, smiled through the humiliation. She offered postcards of herself for sale to secure enough money for her kids' education. And as years passed, she continued to bring in big crowds to see her, and she was able to provide for her children in 2 years, performing in New York, where she earned £2,000, which in 2022 would be worth over $1 million in today's time. And through it all, she did make some friends and found time for love, where she met a giraffe handler named Andrew, and she continued working until she passed away on December 26, 1933, at the age of 59. So that is the story of Mary Ann Bevan, is known as the ugliest woman in the world. So I've always been compassionate, and I have empathy for people with disabilities and people in general, because I know what it's like to be singled out or picked on or bullied. And I wish there was more love in the world for people, for everyone. So I'm glad I learned about Mary Ann Bevan, and I was able to share with you her story. So please like, share, and subscribe, as I will bring you more wild shh. And I want to know how you felt about this video. I want to know what you think. What do you think about Mary Ann Bevan? What are your thoughts on sideshows? Let me know what you think below. Please leave me your comments in the comments. Let's get this conversation started. And thank you for tuning in to another episode of Wild Shh.